What if the god you trusted turned out to be your greatest enemy, and the only one who could warn you was yourself? Not a prophet, not a vision, but an older, broken version of you, scarred by failure, consumed by grief, and too late to save anything. This is the final arc of Mushoku Tensei Volume 14, a chapter without grand battles or thunderous spells, and yet it might be the most devastating moment in the entire series, because this is where Rudeus begins to understand that faith can be fatal, and the greatest danger isn't the Demon King. It's the god who smiles while your world burns. After surviving at Delph and dragging his battered party back to the safety of Perugia's sky fortress, Rudeus should finally have a moment to breathe. Nanahoshi is stable, the Soka's grass has done its job, and the rest of the group is recovering. By all accounts, they won, but something doesn't feel right. There's a strange stillness in the halls, a tension behind the silence, like the fortress itself is waiting for something, or someone. That night, Rudeus dreams, and in the dream, as always, the man god appears. He wears that same grin, that same maddeningly casual expression. No real greeting, just a vague warning not to interfere with what comes next. No details, no context, just a command dropped like a coin into a well, with the unspoken expectation that Rudeus will obey. But this time, Rudeus doesn't respond the way he used to. The old fear is still there, the confusion, but it's buried beneath a growing sense of unease. Something's wrong, deeply wrong. Then, without ceremony or fanfare, another figure appears. He enters the dream, not like a guest, but like a ghost, one who's returned not to be seen, but to remember. His steps are slow and heavy, each movement burdened with years of loss. He looks older, far older than Rudeus should be. His back is slightly hunched, his skin pale and worn thin. His clothes are burned in places, torn in others. The cloak he wears hangs off one shoulder, its edges blackened with soot. His eyes, they're sunken, bloodshot, and hollow. The light behind them is gone, replaced by something deeper, something that doesn't reflect anymore. And yet, even before he speaks, Rudeus knows. This is him. There's no preamble, no dramatic entrance, no emotional reunion. The older Rudeus doesn't cry. He doesn't smile. He simply looks at the man god, the same man god who has always stood in these dreams, like a smug overseer, and stares with such cold, contained hatred that the entire dream seems to freeze around them. He doesn't accuse, he knows it wouldn't matter. Instead, he tells his story, plainly, flatly, like a man repeating a nightmare he's had 1,000 times, hoping it'll sting less each time. It doesn't. In his timeline, he did everything right. Or so he thought. He followed the man god's advice. Every instruction, every cryptic warning, every suggestion dressed up as prophecy. He acted when told to act, held back when told to wait. He put his faith in the hands of something far older, far more powerful than him. And slowly, one by one, the things he loved died. Roxy was the first. Her death wasn't quick, and it wasn't heroic. It was meaningless. A byproduct of some greater conflict the man god never warned him about. Then came Sylphy, assassinated before Rudeus even knew she was in danger. He couldn't even bury her. Then Eris, not dead, but gone, swallowed by the chaos of a collapsing world. No trace, no closure. His children were lost in the war, some taken, some killed, some simply vanished, like leaves in a firestorm. His home was overrun. The friends who stood by him, Cliff, Zenobia, even Ellen Elise, they were scattered, broken, or turned to ash in battles they were never meant to win. And through all of it, the man god stayed silent. Like it was all a game he'd already played and lost interest in halfway through. There's no emotion in the older Rudeus's voice anymore. Not even grief, just exhaustion. As if speaking these words one more time costs him something he no longer has. He isn't here to ask for help. He doesn't want to be saved. He's beyond that. He came back for one reason only, to deliver a message. The man god is not your ally. He is not a protector. He is not even a liar because lies require investment. No, the man god is something worse. A being who finds amusement in destruction and curiosity in the pain of others. He moves pieces across a board not to win, but to see what happens when they break. He finishes his warning with a final look, not at the man god, but at Rudeus. And in that look, there's no hope, no expectation, Just a quiet prayer that maybe this version of himself, this earlier version, still has time to do what he never could. Stop believing. Then, just as suddenly as he came, the older Rudeus fades. Not into light, not into mist, but into silence. As if even his memory has been worn thin by repetition. Rudeus wakes up with a sharp gasp, drenched in sweat. His hands are trembling, his pulse erratic. The dream clings to him like frost. But it wasn't just a dream. He can feel that now. And for the first time since the man god entered his life, Rudeus no longer feels guided. He feels hunted. In the morning, the dream lingers like smoke in his mind. He tries to push it away, to resume the routines of the fortress, but the unease doesn't fade. And then he notices it, watching him. Too alert, too clean. It follows him from room to room, always a few steps behind. At first, he thinks it's his imagination, but when he finally chases it through the corridors and into a hidden chamber beneath the floor, he finds something far more damning than a dream. Left behind by the future version of himself, hidden in a place only Rudeus could find. The pages are worn and trembling with ink, filled with battle reports, regrets, personal reflections, and warnings. There are drawings, crude, desperate, violent. One page shows the man god's face, defaced over and over again, lines crossing through the eyes and mouth like a curse. And at the end, a final instruction written in uneven script. Destroy the eye. The demon eye, a gift from the man god. A tool Rudeus had trusted without question. For a moment, he hesitates. If he destroys it, he loses a tactical advantage. But if it's true, if it's tainted or worse, a way for the man god to watch him, then keeping it might be suicide. He grips the artifact, says nothing, and crushes it in his hand. This arc isn't about defeating a monster or rescuing a friend. It's about something far more terrifying, the unraveling of belief. For volumes, the man god has hovered at the edge of the story like a trickster mentor, vague, whimsical, possibly dangerous, but useful. No, the mask has cracked, and what lies beneath it is not kindness or even cruelty, it's apathy. The man god doesn't help people. He uses them, he gives tools, offers advice, sets events in motion, and watches amused as people destroy themselves trying to make sense of it all. Rudeus has finally seen through it. He's no longer the student, no longer the pawn. For the first time, he is truly alone, and finally free. And now he must choose what to do with that freedom. Rudeus has fought demons, monsters, and fate itself. But now he stands at war with something far more elusive, the path he once thought was destiny. In the next volume, there will be no voice in his dreams, no divine guidance, just Rudeus and the consequences of his own choices. Because once you stop listening to the gods, you become responsible for your own soul. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next. Because this isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of the rebellion.